Hey guys, I'm sure you guys thought that we have forgotten all about the masterclasses that we promised you, but we have not. As you can see, there's Anand right here next to me, and he has promised to do a set of masterclasses for us. Anand is convinced, and we are also, that there is a difference between the way the arcs of various things are in your Western, so to say, master classes, and there's something slightly different when you tell Indian stories. In the beginning, we did speak about various ideas, how do you get your ideas, and it was a wonderful, wonderful chat that we had about the ideas. So before we start anything else, can we just recap on the ideas that we had spoken about earlier, so that we start off from absolutely the beginning then.
Thank you, Sonali. It's a great opportunity. Now, coming back to slightly elaborating what you said, there is not a slight difference. There is a sea of difference between the Indian way of telling stories and the Western way of telling stories. We are the greatest storytellers. I'm proud to say that Indians are the greatest storytellers. The Arabian Nights was inspired from Kada Sarit Sagar and Brihat Kada. We are given stories to all over the world. The stories have traveled from here. Last 5,000, 6,000 years we have been telling stories. And our stories have withstood the test of time. So what is that which makes our storytelling unique? That I will try to explore in this class. In the first class, maybe some of you may recall that I was telling you should be a good liar to become a good storyteller. Without lies, without stories, the world is so drab.
Absolutely. What can we do then?
Now we will try to recap. Where do you get ideas from? Ideas are all around. Ideas are, you have to just keep your eyes and ears open. One of the places to get ideas is the headlines from the news. Then the box newsers are specifically, they have ideas. That's the first place you will get ideas. That is one thing. And in second thing, the ideas come from the past stories. Like you might be knowing, I have mostly rewritten the mythology and other things. So, I depend on that.
Turning the villain into the hero, and we all fall in love with his heroes who are so-called villains.
Or even the Bahubali case, I did the backstory, the entire backstory, and I have gone 30 years behind doing that. So stories, that is, second thing is, from the existing story, you have to imagine from the other side, various sides, various angles. Now, if you see the Indian literature in all languages, all Indian languages, if you see the literature, all the classics are inspired by the retelling of Indian epics. They could be from Karna's side, Bhima's side, Rama's side, Ravan's side, from various other things, or it is from folk tales. So, retelling of story is a big inspiration. Now, the third thing what I mentioned that day was to change the context. Take a story from somewhere else and change the context to the present day, you get a different story. You change the antagonist and protagonist, you get a different story. You change the gender of the antagonist and protagonist, you get a totally different story.
Absolutely.
Totally different story.
You also said a very interesting thing. You had said that sometimes some dialogue could also inspire and give you an idea for a story, and that I thought was very interesting.
Dialogue inspires story, and just by changing the genre, you get a different story. Now Romeo and Juliet you take, for example. You change the genre to just imagine it as a horror story. It's a wild imagination.
Are you saying that falling in love is a horror story?
Sometimes it is. Most of the times. That is again another difference which I actually mentioned. Most of the Western tales, they end at marriage, happy marriage. Most of the Indian tales start from the marriage.
Yeah, that's true.
So even in Ramayana, until Ram gets married to Sita, it's just setting for the story. The story starts from there.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying marriage is a horror story. It could be. That's up to you to make it a horror or not.
No, we are not saying that. We are not saying that at all.
But just imagine, it is by putting one genre and mixing two genres, you get a different story.
Correct.
Suppose if already Juliet is dead and he's in love with
the ghost.
The ghost.
The spirit.
This is just a wild example I'm telling.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah. Or it could be a comedy. Both Romeo and Juliet are 80 years and 90 years old, already married with grandkids, and they are playing it.
Oh, how sweet. I think that will be so sweet.
It's sweet, it could be comedy, it could be horror, you can change it to whatever you want. So that is another thing. And the fourth thing, here a lot of poetry.
Yeah, correct.
Poetry inspires a lot of story because poetry is very precise in its thought. So through poetry also I hear a lot of poetry in various languages. I will not take it directly, but from each of the poetry, some statement, it triggers ideas, like how it comes.
Absolutely.
So that is another method. And then try telling stories to your kids, your brother, kids, kid brothers, and other
What
things.
if they don't want to sit and listen to us then?
that means you are in the wrong program. Your own kid is not listening to you, which my kids don't listen to me. They're grown up now.
Yeah.
But kids, if you are able to tell the story to a kid, then that is there in you. Because kids don't go by any gimmick. The story has to be interesting.
And their attention span is also that.
Attention span is only that much. So you know, that's why mothers are the best storytellers. If you really see, mothers and grandmothers are the best storytellers. They don't realize that.
Okay. Is my mother a good storyteller? I'm thinking. Yeah. That means my mother lies a lot. Is that what I'm saying? But they do actually. We keep telling them so many things which are sort of lies.
I think we lie most to our kids and to our parents. Usually.
Yeah, you're right.
Everything they told is a lie.
My son is not going to see this bit of it.
So coming back to the topic.
So anyway, that was the ideas.
Yeah.
So this was just to recap on that, and then we move. What we want to move on to is plot. So how do we reach and how do we get a plot of the story?
Plot again is a very Western device.
Okay.
Because they try to see any story needs a structure. Now in many of the story classes they talk about 3-act play, 3-act structure and all those things. That is just a random classification if you ask me.
Okay.
It can be 10-act also. It can be 7-act also. You are randomly doing it.
Okay.
Plot is, I would rather go by the character and his reaction rather than plotting it down. But there are people who are comfortable plotting each and everything. Like especially when you are writing, even though this class is for novels, novels I don't plot much, but when I write screenplays, when I write stories for TV and all, plotting is important. So I'll just talk briefly about how to plot. Whichever way you plot it, finally the story takes a life of its own, the characters take a life of its own, and mostly when you end up, you will find that whatever you had plotted and whatever you had written is totally different. Never mind about that, this is just a roadmap.
For me, I find that if I have some sort of, like you said, a roadmap or a structure, it helps me think better. So it just kind of gives me a direction then, and kind of contains it. Otherwise, I find myself all over the place.
Any story, basically, it needs to have a problem. So
Correct.
first you are defining the problem, what it is. I am not saying this is an organic way of doing it. This is for people who are comfortable plotting. Not everybody will be comfortable plotting.
Okay.
Not everybody will be comfortable plotting or not plotting every time.
It's only when you try things you're going to understand what is
You are comfortable.
your comfort zone. That so it's okay if you're the kind who likes to plot. It's okay if you're the kind who doesn't like to plot.
So first is what is the story problem? Every story needs to have a story problem or story equivalent. What has to be solved? So Ramayana, what is the story problem? First they define what has happened to the world, because it's a huge villain with 10 head and 20 arms, and he has received a boon over that.
Correct.
Boon of invincibility, and he's going and conquering every place.
Right.
First you have defined the problem there.
Yeah.
So now this huge story problem you have brought, now you need a hero for it.
Correct.
Imagine you are Valmiki, it's fun to imagine like that. You are Valmiki, how will you approach this problem? First you have this you have created a huge problem, and this person can be killed only by the avatar of Vishnu. But if he just comes and kills him, then there is no story. This Valmiki he decides what he has to say to the people, what he is going to teach the public.
Okay.
Through that.
Nice.
What is the message he has to give?
Right.
So for that, what he does is, he then makes the character first. That is, he clearly defines there are 16 gunas for Rama, 16 good qualities for Rama, and the 10 bad qualities for Ravana. Which in my Asura had done it the other way around.
Correct.
But basically, if you do that, it's a 16. So first you define the character. You define the character, and then he has got so many qualities. Each of the quality will be a flow for him.
Correct.
This is a very typical Indian method.
Absolutely.
Now Rama's one quality is that he will obey his father.
And that is what is
That becomes a problem. That becomes a problem. Then he will obey the will of the people. That becomes his problem.
Oh my God, amazing.
So like that you define, like that each character. So plotting is very
it's amazing. What you're saying is actually these are his qualities, and that's what you turn into the problems. After the overreaching problem of Ravana.
Now how to think about problems? Now Valmiki has defined these are the qualities. Now he would have thought what all problems we can give it to Rama. Because a hero without a problem is no story at all. The hero will have to face tests. And now you need a heroine. Heroine, you are contrasting with the hero when you are creating the heroine.
Right.
This will link to your characterization also, but you cannot.
Right now we'll focus on the plotting bit of
plotting
it and
part.
then
So now the heroine also you have a certain set of qualities. Those qualities will remain her problems also.
Okay.
Villain also, he will have a lot of good qualities because we are talking about the opposites here.
Absolutely.
Villain, you are writing villain, lot of bad qualities are there. Those bad qualities are his strength. You take Ravan, he's just imagine the story plotting here. It is counterintuitive. But just imagine this: how did he get his Chandrahasa? That is his sword. He is audacious to go and lift the Kailasa. It is his it's a bad quality of his audaciousness, which is his strength. It is his ambition, which is his strength. Which Ram doesn't want the kingdom and he goes, the hero. You contrast it with the villain.
Who wants the kingdom and more of the kingdom.
More of it, and he raises it and he becomes powerful because of that. So you increase the story problem again and again and again. The problem becomes bigger and bigger. And now you have the king, you have, and again, you have the hero, you have the heroine. Heroine's, Sita's thing is what? She loves Ram very much. That becomes her problem. She goes, problem in the sense, in the story problem.
Absolutely.
She goes with Ram to the forest. Otherwise, there is no story again.
There is no story again. Absolutely.
So what we happen is the plot drives by itself by explaining the quality of, first you define a story problem, then you define the quality of the hero, heroine and the villain. Each character will have to do like that. Once you explain this, the story,
all the good qualities become the problems, all the bad qualities become his empowerment. And that much the villain rises up and your hero needs to grow that much to bring that villain down. So and that's the arc of your story.
Arc of the story. If Ravan is not this big, there is no doubt.
No doubt. Absolutely.
So first you are creating, when you plot, you are making the problem bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Any story, if you take, fundamentally this quality is there. It's more than the 3-act structure and other things. So this is fundamentally.
And that's true. The bigger the problem and more complicated the problem, the more interesting the story becomes.
Yeah. The next plotting device is, you have a set of what all could affect. You drive the wedge more and more. Make the villain powerful. So for that, you keep on adding.
You make the journey tougher and tougher for the hero to reach
that place.
The battlefront. And the battle is going to happen.
Well, the final
there itself, you make the journey more and more difficult.
And you use whatever gunas you have given to him or her as the story trigger.
Right.
Each and every time you give that. One example again, I am telling you to make it more clearer. Lakshman is devoted to Ram, he is devoted to Sita. Now when Marriage comes, how does Valmiki drive there? Ram says to Lakshman, you take care of your sister-in-law, I will go and get the golden deer. Here, see the plot device which Valmiki has used. The same love he has, he makes Sita loves Ram. When Marriage dies, he cries in the voice of Ram.
Absolutely.
So Sita tells Lakshman that you are not going to help your brother because you are eyeing me, you want to marry me. Lakshman is shocked. Because what is Lakshman's quality? Lakshman's quality, again it gets defined later. Lakshman says that I have not seen Sita's area of documents, I have seen only
her feet.
That is his quality. And in that he is striking it there. So that becomes another plot device. So you get a list of device where the character reacts and the plot will follow by itself. What is the problem with the usual Western style of plotting is, there I will just try to explain the difference. It is like, they will say the story starts with a problem, a hero's quest. They are very mathematical in their approach. 12.5% of the story, a call for action comes. At 25%, he does a decision, and then one guru comes for him. See, roughly this will be true, but you will get a very flat story with this. Then at 50% of the story at the mid, after 25% to 50%, the hero doesn't know what to do. Ramayana also you can plot like that, but you will get a very flat story if you do like that. Then after 50%, suddenly he gets some allies. Ramayana also it comes really see. In 75% of it, he knows, he has figured out, he challenges the hero. Then 90% of it, or 87.5, 90% of it,
They come face to face.
no, they come to face, and the hero almost dies.
Yeah.
It's all lights out moment.
Yeah.
And then you have the resolution. This is how they go in plotting.
Yeah.
The problem with nothing wrong with this approach, but all stories will look alike. Now, for example, what you do is take Disney films. Disney, whatever they make, they are great films, but they are great because they use a lot of technology and other things. But as a story, you try to list it out. You can exactly tick all these things. This many percentage.
Sometimes it's nice and comfortable to tick all the things.
It is nice and comfortable. But imagine this. We have been telling stories for so many years and they have lasted over so many cultures and so many generations. Why? Because it reflects life more. Our stories...
So you would say, rather than going by the percentages, what we do is the list of qualities, make them the problems, the list of bad qualities, make them the strength.
Virtues, strength.
Strength. And yeah, that
and then list out what all could affect against these qualities.
Qualities, and that are your trigger points or your plot points.
You have, when I do this, I get hundreds of stories which I use at various places.
Correct.
Not just one story. And you are not stilted like this has to be done like this has to be done like this, like that.
Correct me if I'm wrong. What I'm understanding with the example of Ramayana, if we take now, these are Rama's good qualities which become problems for him. So little story on various problems that he faces. Same thing with Ravan, same thing with the various characters, and how you're weaving all these stories in together is what your entire novel is.
Yeah.
Not an easy job at all.
Not an easy job.
Not at all easy, but it's a very unique way of looking at it. Maybe unique because we've not heard it put so easily. I mean, I would have never thought, for me, Rama and Mahabharata are so huge that I can't believe it. You've actually put it down in some sort of a structure for me, and that is amazing. So if Ramayana can be put down in that little structure and that work can be done, I'm sure we could put in other stories in that. We are going to do some list of hero characters, heroine characters, and which will be their problems, and have a few.
I will suggest always to start with characterization rather than plot. Character has to drive the plot.
So our next talk is going to be on characters, and so we will go on it and we will talk more on characterization. And in the meanwhile, this is today idea plotting, recap of idea and some plotting great points for you. And I'm going to talk to him some more, and we're going to come back with characterizations then. I hope you enjoyed it.